Hey guys, welcome back. Just going to go over another game that I had. They start off with King's Pawn opening. I decided I'll just go with a hippo setup since it's black, and black I've just been kind of going with the hippo lately, trying to get better with that. And they take the center, and I bring out my bishops because I like to fianchetto both bishops on the side. It's part of the beginning setups of the hippo. A, a big mistake on their part. So I take the free pawn. They brought out their queen. It's like the wayward queen attack. Um, it's really bad. Uh, doesn't do anything good for them. And you know what I like to do? I like to fianchetto um, this bishop over here, and I also like bringing up that pawn. So I just went ahead and brought up the pawn. I didn't want to bring this pawn up yet because, well, then there's possible ideas of the queen go over here and take um, that rook for free. It's happened to me a few times in Blitz. Um, so, anyways, I blocked that bishop, and then they just brought out their bishop right here, uh, looking at the queen. And well, this is a normal move that I was going to go anyway. I just bring out the knight, um, block that threat, and they just move their queen back. Um, just try and develop normally and put pressure on the queen. And now the queen is attacking my bishop, so just retreat it back, put it in a good square. They brought out their knight. It also defends the bishop, but yeah, I like to pull out the pawns on the ends, put, ask them, hey, what are you going to do with your bishop? I blocked the bishop from pinning my knight against my queen, moved it back, and I fianchettoed the bishop. Um, so it can eye this, eye that, and finally also eye uh, the rook. I just have to get rid of this knight, which defends all those. So they brought out their knight, and again, like if you go into the center, like all these squares, like they're it's not going to be good. You just don't want to be aggressive to the hippo because I'm just moving my pieces out here, taking up the squares, develop normally, putting pressure on their pieces. They're just going to have to take them back. It's just uh, it's just wasting a bunch of time for them. Um, but then they move their queen, and you know what's on that diagonal? This bishop. So putting pressure on the queen, um, putting pressure on the other pieces. Um, it works. Like they forgot about this diagonal, about the bishop there. I take, and they abandoned the game. And since that game was so short, I got another game for you that I had played. It was a lot longer game. It was 64 moves long. So let's get into it. So I got the black pieces again. I don't know why I'm getting so many black uh, times black, but I guess I'll get more white in the future. So, anyways, they take the center. Um, I'm just trying to move my pawns and in the positions, and I don't like that bishop pointing at that square. But I did have uh, the the key squares uh, for this knight to go to take nap, so I wasn't too worried about that. So I fianchettoed and just gave my classic hippo setup. They decided to take with their pawn. I recaptured, no big deal. And in this type of position, it's best just to lock it down. So that's what I did. Lock down the center. Um, Castled. I brought out my knights to those good squares, and they dropped back their bishop. Move that up. Just kind of thinking about like maybe like this bishop. It's pretty much trapped. Um, uh, they would need to move their pawn in order to get an escape square. So I was eyeing that, but it's just kind of like a thought if I get around to it. So they brought out their pawn, which also gives them that escape square and puts pressure on me. If they take and then I take, um, this bishop, if it's blocking, um, they'll just uh, have a lot of like they'll have a free rook. So um, and lately I've been thinking, yeah, if they challenge this pawn and if I'm able to go up without having that pawn attacked and just kick the knight, also move that pawn up, take more space, and that's what I did. Pincho the bishop, put extra pressure here um, because like I could basically like maybe take there or take here. Um, so just like they have how many defenders? They have one, two defenders of that square. Um, and I have one, two attackers on that square. Um, so this move kind of shocked me a little bit because the next thing I wanted to do is move my pawn up to defend this pawn. Now it's like it's a pretty big weakness right there. And so again, I pushed up the pawn to attack their knight. They just moved it, um, and by moving their knight here, it allows me to take do the trade-off and end up with the pawn. So that's what I did. Um, I thought I would go with the knight first because I wanted to keep my bishops. I love my bishops, and so if they take, we capture with the bishop, keep the bishop, keep it super strong, and and get rid of the knight. Don't really care about the knight too much. So I did that, and now that pawn is being defended. And I thought, well, being up one pawn, I could probably also think about trading down, so I can attack that knight because that bishop is being attacked, and yeah, so just trading down, double up their pawns, attack their pawn, and trade off pieces if they wanted to, and so like in this position, I'm still up one pawn. I'm thinking, hey, it should be winning. It's okay. Just do what I need to do. And so they brought out their knight. I just castled, trying to get my king safe, connect the rooks, and he challenged my rook. So brought that out. And yeah, for some reason, for a lot of this game, I was just missing that this bishop was eyeing that pawn. It's like, I don't know why I didn't get it sooner. So I finally saw it, and so I grabbed it. And they are trying to develop a attack on me, and I saw this, and it's like, oh, they're going to take that pawn, attack this pawn. It's not really that great. Um, how am I going to survive this game? I'm losing my advantage that I had, and so I was like, okay, well, just take it as it comes and just try and figure something out. So I brought my bishop back, try and develop a plan. And I guess like what I was thinking at the time, bring the bishop out here and get the rook out here and just trade off that last rook. Um, uh, yeah, and just try and gobble up the pawns, try and promote something. So he took, and I immediately challenged his rook because like if he forgot that this wasn't defended or something, or it just gets too aggressive and pre-moves that, then it would just be checkmate. So he took, I recaptured, he took there, and I don't know why I just didn't capture that. I decided I'd protect this pawn over here. I think I wanted to protect this pawn a little bit more because this side I have a pawn majority. That pawn was probably going to be taken, and I don't want to move my king away from all the other pawns just to save this one pawn. So, anyways, they pushed, and it's like, oh, that's not good. So I attacked his knight, and looking to maybe either capture this or just block it. So he moved his knight, attacking my bishop. Don't really have a whole lot of choice, so I just pulled it back. Be hard for him to attack the bishop right here. He'd have to reroute it to to attack it. And in any case, I could always move the bishop up here or anywhere along here um, to prevent him from pushing that forward. So I figure he's just rerouting his knight, um, and he did attacking the bishop now. Have to move it, so just trying to be annoying with the bishop. But he took that pawn. Probably going to try and march it down here too, and promote. So I was a bit worried. Uh, he's actually winning quite a bit at this point, um, and I felt the pressure. So I just moved my king over, trying to give myself reinforcements, try and get rid of his pawns, because I didn't want him to promote. So I just walked him over and just gobbled up one pawn. And at this point, I I felt a big sigh of relief because I knew uh, he wasn't going to be promoting now, and um, his king would have to go all the way around. Like I mean, he could like try and trade off pawns, but really to get the base of my little pawn chain, he would actually have to walk all the way around to get at it. So I felt like my position was pretty safe overall, and I'll just walk my king over and try and push my pawns up. That was the plan anyway. So um, so I moved my bishop a little bit out of the way because I didn't want him to gain traction by kicking my bishop around, which he kind of does in a way, but he just rerouted it up to here. I thought, well, he's going to try and attack the base of my chain with his knight. Um, and so, okay, this is this is okay. I can just keep playing, try and try and pull back here. But I didn't see this tactic. For some reason, my 800 ELO brain just didn't see it, and that was not a free pawn. He forked me right here, and I thought, oh man, that is terrible. I definitely had lost this game. So my only hope is to bring my king over and try and promote a pawn, and then things might be safe. So he just starts to check me. He's attacking the base of my pawn chain. So I'm trying to survive it, keep my pawns, um, move my pawn up, try and make way for, especially for this pawn to push up. So I was just trying to do whatever I can to try and get this thing to work. So it's pushing pawns. His king went back, which isn't really that great for me um, because I can't really promote, or at least not very easily. I'd have to bring my king out and try and get my king to the square or the square to be able to push the pawn all the way up. But that pawn is there to protect that from happening. So I just move my king around a little bit, hoping that I can just get to the squares needed. But that knight just keeps checking me, and um, and I didn't want this to be forked, or at least not um, have my king here, and somehow he forks me and just takes that pawn. So I wanted to keep the king close by to it. So he moved his king. I moved my pawn up again, putting more pressure. Um, uh, like because I figure if I can get my pawn, like get a pawn up on that rank, on that second rank, that that he would feel the pressure and maybe slip up. But I also didn't really want to trap his king over here. I wanted his king to be gone. So he continues to check me, and at this point, I was thinking, I I just hope that he checks me enough where we just have a draw. So he just continues to check. I just keep moving around and just thought, okay, this is a draw. Hopefully, I can just survive. And um, and actually, looking at the eval bar, he was up like 6 points equivalent. Like he was up quite a bit. He was in a winning position. He just needed to get his king or his knight in the proper spot and maybe take this pawn. So, um, and I'm not sure if I would have been able to figure this out either. So he went there, total blunder. Oh man, like that just would just make him sick. Um, because if I recaptured here, he can't move his king over, because that would be move. That's an illegal move. So I would promote to a queen and win the game. So that was his huge mistake. I recaptured and it was game over. So anyways, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.